Good morning, welcome back to Morning Sun Homestead. Today we're going to be making vegetable soup, and we put beef in it to mix with the vegetables just because we don't like straight vegetable soup. But what we're going to be using in that is going to be potatoes. This is some potatoes that we had. When you dig your potatoes, you always get cut, is what they're called. So the plow will catch them, or sometimes they just get rubbed too hard and they end up being chipped or whatnot. But anyway, if you left this, as you can see, it's already starting to rot. So we will use these. That way they don't go to waste. We had almost a 5-gallon bucket, but we're big potato eaters. So that one looks like it's got a little cut on it. We use them up fairly quickly. So we're going to be doing potatoes, and I'll show you how to cube those. Then we have meat. This is a roast from our cow, and we ran out of roast, so we had to go to the grocery store and buy 2 others. I could not believe the price of meat, just because we don't buy meat. We raise our own. So families out there, I commend you that are buying everything. I really don't know how you do it. If that's not enough to change your vote in November, nothing probably is. The next thing that we add, mixed vegetables. Instead of using our own vegetables, I purchased these because I got them near to nothing last spring, and they've been okay in the freezer since then. I think it was only $2 or $3 a bag. That's a whole lot less expensive than what I can them for. So whatever we have on the shelf, we just leave. So this is what they look like. It's corn, lima beans, carrots, green beans. So if you find a deal like that, I'm not above using it, because that's quite a steal. And then the last thing, well, no, not the last thing. We have onions, and this is just a piece. I'll have to get more, and I will use the red onions just because they're healthier. And they don't store as well. So I had quite a few of those. I want to use them up. And then our tomatoes. We're going to rice these out and make juice. Well, it'll be a very thick sauce, and I'll probably cook it down just a little bit. It'll depend on how thick it is. When it rolls out of the ricer, if it's nice and thick, I won't cook it. If it isn't, then I will, because I just like a little bit of texture to the vegetable soup. And the last thing that we'll put in is bone broth. I've just saved bones throughout the last couple months. I do this all the time, but every now and then I just clean out the freezer of the bones. I did this 2 days ago, because it takes about 2 days to do a good bone broth. So I'll skim the fat off and probably use half the jar. And the rest of it I'll just can up, because that way we can drink it this winter. I put it in other soups and stews throughout the time that I'm cooking, when I just get into one of those moods that I just dump a bunch of jars together, and I'll add this for taste. So we are going to get started. The first thing we'll do is work on our tomatoes and dicing up our meat. Another thing about our meat, once we dice it, we will not brown it in the skillet. I will just throw it into the pot, stir it up, and then we have to can it. So that's 90 minutes, because you have to take whatever's the longest in your jar. That's how long the jars will have to process. Meat takes 90 minutes. Corn takes 90 minutes. So we'll do 90 minutes in the pressure canner. And so we'll get started. We cube the potatoes almost like we would cut them up for home fries, if you're familiar with that. So you just slice them in little pieces. Don't want great big pieces in your vegetable soup, because nothing else is large. As you can see in the pot, we've got 2 pots, just because we've got too much for one. We've taken an onion and a half and put it in each pot, and we dumped 3 bags of the vegetables, and those vegetables were 2-pound bags. And then I'll half the potatoes up between them, and we'll half the roast up. So we'll put 1 1/2 roast in each pot, and then we will rice our tomatoes and see what kind of juice is coming there, how thick it is, and what it's going to look like.
So here we are cutting the tomatoes for them to be ready to go to the ricer.
These 2 are chuck roasts that we've purchased from the store, and this is a bottom round roast that we currently had. And just look at the difference in the color of the meat. Homegrown meat is so much superb compared to store-bought meat. But what I do is cut it, and this has been washed too. I always wash my meat. Even the homegrown meat, this is really the first store-bought meat we've had in quite a while, long time, probably years. And we'll have to trim some of that fat off that one. So I'll just show you. I cut it in strips. And then I will cut that strip, because we want smaller chunks. fat off of it. We don't want a bunch of fat in our vegetable soup to make it not taste very good. And then we just cut it in smaller chunks once those strips are ready. Here's our tomato sauce that we've rendered out. As you can see, it's going to be plenty thick enough. There is no reason why I'm going to have to cook that down whatsoever. So I'm going to pour one of these in each pot, and I should have about 3 panfuls. So I'll pour each one of them, 1.5 into each of our pot of stew. We have our tomatoes all riced out. Now we're going to put in some bone broth. This is a gallon that I have previously done as I explained at the beginning of the video. So we'll put half in one pan and half in the other. As you can see, our tomato sauce is here. We're going to get both pots turned on, and we got to heat everything through. That's always important anytime you're canning. The produce that you're canning needs to be heated completely through. So we're going to do that, and then we'll start jarring. It has been heating through for almost a half an hour, and as I was going to the garden to take the tomato peelings and the potato peelings to the hogs, I did see some yellow squash in the garden. So I decided to pick that, and I've added that to my soup as well. As you can see, it's starting to try to bubble back there, so it's really heating up, so it won't be long till we get it in jars. And then we have to process it for 90 minutes. But this soup, you can add as little or as much of anything that your family likes. You don't have to put yellow squash in if they don't like it. You don't have to put green beans if they don't like them. And don't be too proud to get your ingredients from the store. You don't have to do all this from your garden. A lot of people don't have the room to grow a garden. But you can buy all the ingredients at the store in frozen vegetables and cans of tomatoes, soup, or juice, whatever they may have at the store. Not soup, but some sort of tomato juice. Just watch the salt content. But this is a quick meal for working mom and dads. When they come home, they have a family to feed. In the wintertime especially, it's easy to pop it open, heat it up, and your supper is ready within 15-20 minutes. If you want to do rolls, which I'm going to do a video on that later of how you can make your own rolls and freeze them and then be able to take them out and let them raise during the day while you're at work, and when you come home, it's just 8 to 12 minutes in the oven and they're completed. So this is a great comfort food in the wintertime, also a quick food, and it's got lots of nutrients in it. So you can really not go wrong with this vegetable soup. A lot of people also put macaroni in this, and that's not anything wrong with that. I have did that previously, but my macaroni always gets really mushy. But I have talked to another lady that does vegetable soup, and she said at the point of where she turns it off from where she's heated it, she turns it off, pours in her macaroni, puts it in the jar, and then processes it, and she says that it doesn't become mushy that way. I have never tried that. I'm not a big macaroni fan anyway, and I'm not going to do macaroni in this, but she says it works for her. That's an option that you could try if you like macaroni or if your family likes macaroni. You can most certainly try that and see if it works. Just make sure that you don't cook it where it ends up being plump and ready. It needs to still be hard when it goes into the jars to be processed. So during the processing period, then it would plump up and be normal. So when you dumped it out to heat it, it should be ready, and it would just need to be heated through, and it wouldn't become mushy. So that's an option anyone could try as well. So this is heated through pretty well. We are going to start washing our jars, let it continue to heat for about 15 more minutes, and then we're going to get it jarred and into the canner. The one thing that I failed to mention is about spices. I usually only add salt and pepper, and what I would do is shake it across the top and mix it up. When we get ready to heat up the jars, when we're getting ready to serve it for a meal, then you can taste it and see. Most herbs will can very well except for sage. Sage will get bitter during the canning process, so that's something I would not advise to put in your soup. But you can put anything else in there and it will can out fine. It may have a little bit of a different taste once it's canned. That's why I just do the salt and pepper. At the end, when we're ready to eat, if we want to have a different variety, we can add something else. Now we're going to fill jars. We've been filling them. One thing you want to remember, that when you fill these jars, you want to have liquid on all of your vegetables. You don't want any vegetables sticking up like this Of course, that's way above the headspace to begin with. But you want them all to be covered with liquid, because if not, then they're going to get like a brownish color and they won't look very appetizing. So it's important. That's getting hot on my fingers. It's very important to keep them covered. As you can see, all the jars that I filled so far, the vegetables are covered with liquid. So we want to fill them up to the headspace. Then we're going to simmer some lids, put those on, and we'll process them in the canner. Previously, we've always done hot water baths with everything on the videos that we've been doing, because it was either tomato juice or peppers that we put vinegar in, so everything had plenty of acid. This is going to need to be processed in the canner. So as soon as we get this pan emptied, we will show you that process. When we're getting ready to put the jars into the canner, we have to wipe the rims and make sure that your liquid's up over the jar. Wipe that one since I put stuff on it. And we have a previously simmered lid here. Put that on. We put a ring. And you only do finger tight. They don't need to be extremely tight. Unlike a hot water bath, we do not have to have the water up over our jars. When we do a canner, this canner holds 7. You just need enough water so that it's more of a steam rather than a submerge. So we'll get our jars in here. That is beautiful vegetable soup. I don't want to pour the water in. This is almost a gallon of water. And so we'll put enough in because it is for 90 minutes. So you can see it's about halfway up the jars. And that's all I'll do. I won't give it any more, because all it has to do is heat up that water before it can start getting to the pressure that it needs. And then this is a canner that it doesn't have a rubber gasket, so you put oil around this and that helps get it on and off. And I like this because it doesn't depend on anything from the store. All you have to do is just put it on and then you tighten it down. You're supposed to do opposite sides. And you make them pretty tight. Not so tight you can't get them off, but you do make them tight because they'll also draw pressure during the process. And you do the opposite one on each side. Alright, and we'll wait for steam to start shooting up out of here. You should let that shoot out for about 3 to 5 minutes to make sure there's nothing in the port. And once that shoots out, we'll put the jiggler on. We'll watch our gauge to get up to 10 pounds of pressure. We'll set the heat, and then we'll have to time it for 90 minutes. So this process is a lot longer than a hot water bath. The steam has been coming up out of the canner for about 3-4 minutes, so we know that the port's all clean. And then we have the jiggler that we put on. It has 5, 10, 15. We're doing 10 pounds of pressure, and that will all depend on your elevation as to what you'll can it on. And then we'll wait till it gets to 10 pounds of pressure. Our canner runs high, and I had it checked. They said it was okay, so I will go past 10 a little bit to make up for the difference. I probably just need to get a whole new gauge. But anyway, it works for now. We'll put it above the 10, and then we'll set the timer for 90 minutes, and it will take that long before everything is done. Our first batch of vegetable soup is out of the canner. It looks very nice. This is how much water is left in the canner. We're going to add some cold water. Whenever you do another turn, you need to make sure that you add some cold water. Then we put our jars in. If we continue to put our jars in without adding any water, first of all, they would burst because this was just at 212 degrees boiling. And second of all, there wouldn't be enough water in there to do the steam bath that it needs to do. 27 jars, so we're going to have 4 turns. And you can see where the water is on this. It's not all the way up on the jar. It's a little bit higher than what I had the last time, but it's good. So we just don't have to cover them. Just remember that. This is the final product of our vegetable soup. This is a recipe that can be tweaked however you want to do it. So we're just going to put a vague description below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope that you learned something and are able to make this for your family and feed them on cold winter nights. If you liked it or learned anything, please click the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel as we're trying to get it to grow. Thank you, and continue to watch for Morning Sun Homestead videos.